you have a question?
Well, actually, just point out, because you were talking about, you mentioned, you know, some stuff about reframing and putting things at branding, those types of issues. Then you also mentioned Hillary Clinton, and I know in a minute Brandon's going to be talking about human trafficking. And just, I want to, while we're in the room and while it's at the top of my mind, I want to just put this out there while I'm thinking about it. Hillary Clinton's State Department has been the most child rapist friendly State Department in American history. And that is something that should factor in any campaign, potential 2016 campaign. And I wanted to just throw that out there.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I read an article last night about how they are trying to make pedophilia normal now. And her campaign, her State Department has been on that as well.
Oh, yeah.
First they started with gay rights, and after that they thought they would try to push this through. But there's an article at, what is his name? Dwayne Lester, is that his name?
Yeah.
The All-American Blogger. If you go to the All-American Blogger and search pedophilia, it's an article that is worth reading because it shows the downward spiral in our country and how we need to protect our children from these initiatives. It's very real. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like I say, I'm a newbie to all of this. And information overload and outrage overload. And I've heard all these inspirational speeches, and I'm ready to get out there and fight. But I haven't heard, how will we do it? How do we do it? You're from a place, how did ACORN do it? How do you do it? Because there's so many issues, and everybody has their own baby that they want to protect. There's so many issues, there's so many things wrong. Where in God's name do we start? And how?
I'm glad you asked that. One of the things, and I'll let you come back to that. One of the things last night that we did at the King Street Patriots, that we talked about how True the Vote and King Street is going away. True the Vote has a C3 and a C4 now. True the Vote now.
What is that?
You guys ever heard of True the Vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're going to have True the Vote now, which is the C4. King Street was the Tea Party group, and that's no longer going to exist on the Monday nights like it has been. We're taking that away, and we're putting in other initiatives. Two other initiatives, and Brandon's going to be, hopefully you can ask him about it when he gets here. His Citizens Patriot Response will also be a big part of that, and that's going to give us the leeway to come out and start helping people, you know, collectively as a nation, basically. Private charities taken back from the government, the handout culture. And what I'm going to be working on is field plans. I'm writing right now what will be the first definitive field plan for the right. It will tell you exactly what you need to do from soup to nuts, step by step, take you through the process, get you ready to become organizers. And then we will set up training for you guys starting in Harris County, in and around Harris County, Texas. And we will start here in Texas because we feel like if we can do it in Texas, we can do it anywhere. So you guys will be the model for the country. You will have training, you will have materials, you will have a direction and a plan. And it will be all based at the King Street office. I'm sorry, the True the Vote office. We are also opening the office up to any and every group that is liberty-minded about helping the country and needs a place to meet, hold trainings, and organize. So Monday through Friday, if you need a place to meet, if you want to hold a training, you can talk to King Street or True the Vote, and they will have a space that holds 300 plus people for you to come and work it out. Yes.
Just kind of to tie up what the last lady said. The thing is that what the left does is overload. I mean, that's their model to bring it all down, is to overload the system. And I think, I mean, that's what we're seeing, and that's why so many groups are just spinning. Which way do we go? So I'm hoping that your field plan is going to address that. What is the basic? What is the first move? Because we have to address the fact that that they're hitting us with all of these things on purpose.
Yes, we take you through the whole thing. I even include Acorn's own organizing model, the one that was written in 1975, and the one that they used until their demise in 2010. I include all of that in there. I give you a basic understanding of the left, how to fight back against them, and then how to organize without losing your conservative principles, because the way they organize was subversive in nature to begin with. They tricked people. They used past racial tensions to get folks involved and to get them angry and go out and protest. We don't do that, but I show you how they do that and why, so you can come back against them. I have never had any trouble with the left because I understand how they think. So when they come at me, I turn it around on them. And I've had people, I had these girls come up to me in Austin when we were at the LBJ library, and they were trying to speak and take over our press conference where we were protesting Eric Holder. And I came up to it and I said, you know, yes.
I remember that.
I just love it when those white liberal girls come up and they speak for me. And I said it in my best Southern accent, like, you know, oh, I just love it when you guys do it. And then I just kind of went into them. And next thing you know, they were gone. They were going to their cars and driving away. Because when you confront them, especially black people that think for themselves, they don't know what to do. And you guys, when you're not letting them attack you and browbeat you, they won't know what to do. They will run away. Andrew was famous for making them run away. Yes. That's what you have to do. You have to turn the tables. Well, we teach you all of that. And it's not just a one-day class. This is a process that's going to take months. And that's why I'm going to be located here in Texas, because if I can, like I said, if we can do it in Texas, we can do it anywhere else. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to add to what you can do in the meantime. I think that's wonderful to have that so that there's something to work from. But in the meantime, we can all get out of our comfort zone more than what we do now. I'm embarrassed her and point out my wife Kay is a good example. She goes out and goes to the store and she can't wait to come home and tell me how many people she confronted at Walmart or Target or wherever she went while she was out there standing in line. She'll hit the woman in front of her, the man behind her, and then take care of the cashier before she checks out with an issue to talk about something. And that's what we have to do more of, is to spread the word and get more people. We've got to quit seething within ourselves. We've got to quit meeting with the choir and singing to each other. We've got to get other people involved. We've got to do more than what we've done before, and that means get out of that comfort zone. Yes, some of us aren't good at talking to people. I have a hard time doing what she does. I couldn't do this. I was talking to a fence post one time. But whatever it is, work at it. Your friends, your neighbors, don't let them up. They say no, go right back at them. This whole thing, if we don't talk politics and religion, that's got to be over with.
Yeah, that's
beyond that.
something.
The two are closely coupled, and they have to keep them together. They won't talk one, talk the other to them.
Pick and choose your battles, though. I will tell you that, because I got cornered in a Family Dollar that way. Not a good feeling.
With your organizing plans and such, and I'm glad you're coming to Harris County because I'm a precinct chair there. Cool. That would be wonderful. Would you give us helpful hints and techniques to get into minority communities in our areas? Because, I mean, you know, it's hard for us to penetrate because we don't even know where to go open that door. Not that we're not worried about going through it and saying, hey, these are what we believe in, and we think that that's common enough that we have a basis of commonality in our conservative principles and values as Christians and such, but we don't know how to get into the minority communities that are out there, because we say, well, we got to do minority outreach. It's like everybody looks around and goes, yeah, we ought to do that, but does anybody have a clue?
That's something that's going to be a part of it too. I started an organization called bootsofliberty.org, or as I like to call it, BOLT, like a bolt of lightning. And that's part of the training, because it's not just one, like I said, it's not just 1 week. Right. You go through the process, you learn the information, and then you role play. And after you finish role playing, we take you out there into the communities and show you, like by watching me, by watching other people. It's very hands-on. And I tell people all the time, one of the few reasons that most folks don't understand that people join ACORN is because they were the first first people to ever knock on those doors and ask people what they thought. It's not that hard to go into minority communities and talk to people if they understand that your intentions are sincere. Black people are very intuitive. We understand when people want something from us or are trying to con us. You know, I tell people game recognizes game. So when you go into these communities, you have to go in with a pure heart, because people are able to discern that, and they discern that, they won't trust you and you won't be able to come back.
Right, I mean, the Republican Party teaches Republican organized precinct chairs don't go in apartment buildings because that's where all the Democrats live. Well, that's also where a lot of minorities live. We never reach out to them. You know, they say go hit the suburbs, you know.
Yeah.
Go do your list, but never go to where they are.
No, they don't want you to do outreach. I talked to Mike Berber over at the NRCC, and he hates that he ever had this conversation with me because I repeat it. And he told me that they weren't going to spend any money towards minority outreach until at least 2016 because it was a lost cause as long as Obama was in office. And I have some people like my mom. My mom, she works at the post office. She's been there for almost 20 years. And she was an Obama bot. She would kiss his picture every day and talk about how he had this presidential swagger. And I'm like, ugh. You know? But Obama started trashing the post office and saying that the businesses ran their business like the post office, they'd be broke. And you don't talk about a bread and butter. So she started sitting down and actually listening to what he was saying. Eventually, she comes to me one day and she says, you know, I think he's a socialist. And that's just how she started the conversation. And I just nearly fell off my chair, and I was like, it only took you 2 years, huh? But that same person could not bring herself to vote for Romney because, you know, she had been told that Romney didn't like women. She'd been told Romney didn't like businesses. She'd been told all this stuff and no one from the Romney campaign had come in and given her any other indication that that stuff wasn't true. So you have somebody on the fence that you could probably pull over with the right information, and nobody came and knocked on her door. That's where the problem is. There's a lot of black people that will secretly whisper that, you know, Obama's not doing anything for us. He's never done anything for us. He's done stuff for the Latinos and the gays, and he's just like, hey, you know, hey, you're black, I'm black, vote for me. And that's it. They had these signs in Cleveland that said, we've got your back, Obama, and it was a bunch of black hands holding his back. When has he ever had our back? He's done nothing. But no one will talk about that. If you guys would come out there and talk about it in a real, honest, non-offensive way, because, you know, don't call Michelle Obama nappy and anything like that, that's not going to work. I had someone tell that to me, and I said, no, don't ever say that again. You might get beat down. But seriously, there are ways to do it, but we just haven't been taught. And the Republican Party doesn't want to do the outreach. And that's why I say they don't represent me. They don't represent you, because you guys aren't racist. But they are perpetuating the stereotype because they refuse to get out there because I don't know if it's lack of interest or they think it doesn't matter or the Democrats have that vote sewn up. But they'll go out to the Latino community to try to do outreach. Have you guys noticed that? Yeah. So we have to force.
Well.
No. I can tell you funny stories on that one too. But yeah. So it's up to us. We have to act like the party doesn't exist. And at the same time, we need people infiltrating and becoming voting members of the local parties. Once we get into the local parties, we can take over national. But we have to get in and mind our P's and Q's and act nice, and then get voted into office. And then once we get voted in the office, it's on.
We were running the immigration petitions, and we were getting out into the black communities, like at the voting sites, and they were just really going for it, but the Democrat machine was chasing away from our position.
Slave catchers is what I call them.
Yeah, they were catching them. But yeah, we haven't had trouble with Hispanics or blacks in our travels. We've had the most resistance from white women calling their kids into an SUV.
Yeah.
They're the most hesitant signers on immigration enforcement, but the Hispanics and blacks haven't really been a problem.
I would check their housekeepers. But seriously, most black people, I will tell you, we're easy to get along with. There's nothing. We have more in common with you guys than we have differences. But what we have is people out there that keep trying to make us feel like we're different. There's always this otherness that they try to put out there and spread, so we will continue to fight amongst each other. But I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, in the heart of the civil rights movement, and I will tell you, I never felt like I was any different when I was coming up, because in most cases the South has healed its racial issues. Now, when I came to the North in D.C., the liberal whites really showed me what racism was. I will tell you that. They acted like I didn't even exist. It's one thing for someone to, I'll tell you this. In the South, it's racism with a smile. You'll have somebody and they'll come on your property and they're like, "Hey, how you doing there? Can I help you?" And you know what that "can I help you" means. You're a long way from home. What can I help you with? And the North, on the other hand, they will deny your very existence, like you're not even there. They will push into you like you don't exist, like they don't see you. I would rather have someone smile in my face and know where I stand than to have someone act like I don't exist, like I'm a huddled mass of dirt or whatever. That's how the liberals treat you, as opposed to how the South treats you. But at the same time, all of these laws and stuff that they put on there, like the Voting Rights Act, I think some of these states up north need to be under the Voting Rights Act. But that's not how they do it. And they do it on purpose. But like I said, we're going to learn. It's all programming. A lot of the things that they're putting on you guys, they're projecting from themselves. I was at Acorn and they would say things like, "This is why we don't give you people laptops." When my laptop would collapse. There was only 2 blacks on national staff, and the rest of them were white 20-year-old kids with trust funds out there organizing in these neighborhoods. The same white 20-year-old kids that you see in the Occupy movement, who are out there on their iPads and their iPhones. And if you take away their plugs, they're going to go home, Most people, they never thought about that. If they had shut down the electricity around there, those folks would have went home as soon as their battery died. So we have to realize it's all smoke and mirrors. But on TV, think about it. On TV, the first thing that you saw was black people. They would always find the most black people they could and put them on there and say, "Oh, Acorn's blacks organizing blacks." But behind the scenes, it was all white liberal elites, and that's what it's always been. And that's what we saw in the 60s and the 70s, the same ones that were trying to blow up things. Now they're in academia teaching your kids. They're in the unions, they're in the clergy, and they also assimilated into the Republican Party. So when you think about that, some of these old guards that have been in there 40, 50 years that you think are staunch Republicans are really Democrat operatives. Now I've got one more question in the back.
Do you have a plan for introducing the younger bunch?
Yes.
As you can see, I'm part of the older bunch. It does seem to me it would really be a lot more helpful if we could get the 20 and 18 to 30 years.
We are working on that. I hate that Andrew's not alive for this because he was one of the ones that spearheaded this. It's about, I used to think that you had to look a certain way and act a certain way to be conservative. And along the way, I realized I could just be me. And Breitbart was part of the reason why I realized that. So we are kicking in the door and we're bringing everybody with us. We're ragback, ragback folks, and I don't know how to explain it, but we are reaching out to the youth. We've got several programs going on, and we're teaching them that it's cool to be conservative. When I think about conservative, I don't think about stuffy white people or blue hairs and everything. I think about rebels. I think about people willing to fight. I think about, the history of this country, and it's all, to me, beautiful. It's nothing the way they make it seem. So we're changing the way the words are associated with certain things. And that's why I say we're going to have to work on branding. And as we work on branding, I think we're going to pull in more of the youth. But we do have some college students and some high school folks that are working with us to kind of get into the places that we can't go. Because I'm 33, they don't, babyface only gets me so far these days. We're bringing some kids to help us.
Maria.
Hi, Anita. In case we don't meet up when you leave, but I wanted you to know that what we're doing with Houston Eagle Forum is basically just that. We're going after the 25 to 35-year-old and younger ladies, young women, so that they can go out and be a social, networking group to integrate what they like to do to begin with, help their business, and just be out there in public. And there's a group of ladies, young ladies, that they get together and run little 5K runs. So I thought, hey, I've got my built-in social group. So I bought them a couple t-shirts, Houston Eagle Forum, and I want them to, number one, to go and have fun, make sure you're seeing having fun, and bring the rest in.
If you guys get a chance, this is my good friend Maria Espinoza. I've worked with her for a number of years. I forgot about her program, but she's told me about it at length besides today. So if you get a chance, Maria, do you have cards with you?
I do. I learned from you.
That's my girl. So get some cards from her, because her program really is great, because it not only is it empowering these young girls, but it's getting them to be bold. Because like I said, we have to come out. I want people to be proud to be conservative, to shout it from the rooftops. And that's what we have to teach these kids to do, because right now they're embarrassed. They don't think it's cool. But if they're defended in a way that the liberals can't attack them, then eventually more people are going to come on board, because there's not a stigma attached to it. But thank you.
Anita, I want to make one statement, or just a little story. In 1988, I ran for state representative, and I ran in Kaufman and Ellis County. And so one of the goals that I had was to meet with the Black Ministerial Alliance in Kaufman County in the community of Terrell. That's where that's where they met, and there was probably 5 or 6 ministers that met in this ministerial alliance once a month. And so I kept trying to get in. I kept calling this guy, you know, and he said, well, finally I just kind of wedged my way in the door and went in there and met with him. And they listened to my spiel, and they were very, very, you know, seemed very helpful and very congenial and so forth. So anyway, whenever I finished my spiel, they thanked me, and they said, we'll be in touch. And so I left, and so I waited a week, maybe 2 weeks. Finally, I saw the guy that was in charge on the street. And I said, hey, I thought you guys were going to get in touch with me. He said, oh, Ray, he says, you know what? He said, you know, you didn't do what you needed to do over there at that meeting. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, where were the envelopes? Huh? Where were the envelopes? So I said, now, I think I'm reading between the lines here. I said, do you ever meet with any politicians at all and get things done with and so forth? He said, oh yeah. So we meet with and the lawyers came by just before you did, and they had envelopes. So what they do, the lawyers, they put money in the envelopes and they hand it to those 5 or 6 black ministers in Terrell, Texas, or Kaufman County, or Raines County, or Kaufman, or wherever the county is, Harris County, and they walk out, and they don't have to go knock on doors.
Right.
They do it in Harris
That is
County.
true.
They
They don't have to go knock on doors. And then they come back and they say, well, how many votes can I count on? They know they're counting the votes up in September, before November. Or they're counting the votes up in February, before March, before the primary. They know exactly how many votes they can count on, because every black minister tells them, I can deliver 300 votes, or 400, or 500, or 800, whatever it is. Now that's the way it worked back. That was in 1988.
Now, I saw this
Has
go on.
it changed, or are we still doing the same things?
I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I came back for a race against, there's an area that encompasses the Black Belt, including Selma, Alabama, and it's ran by one of Michelle Obama's sorority sisters. So I came back to help with this race. The guy that was running the race was a guy named Don Chamberlain. And we went around to all the black ministers, and there are some that you cannot buy. These are very good, strong men that love their communities. There are other, and I call them preacher, hustler pimps, and we have them in every community. And they got them in the white community too. They just call them cult leaders. But they're concerned about the money, and it was all about money, and they had been bought and sold lock, stock, and barrel. And that's one of the things we have to realize. Not all of these preachers that are out there are doing the Lord's work. A lot of times they're just lining their pockets, and you can always tell because, you know, it comes out. I mean, one preacher, he came down and he had a cape on, and he threw the cape off like he was James Brown, and came down the aisle, and it was a big production. And it, you know, it mocks the Lord, it mocks the community. But you know, what can you do about it? What Brandon will tell you, what he does is that he goes into communities and he finds out from talking to the prostitutes and the crackheads and everything else who really helps in the community. Once he found out who that person is that's out there giving sandwiches and providing condos and providing help, he works with them to get the message out to the people. That's what I've done. I had a guy that spent $15,000 to do a survey in Harris County that found out the same information I found out by talking to the local crackhead and giving him $5 for a sandwich. I'm like, it took you 3 weeks and $15,000. I was out here for a day and a half and I spent $5. You know, It's crazy, but you have to find out who has the pulse in the community, and once you find out if that person is good or bad, there is always a way to work around them. But in every community, there are people there that are going to misuse people's trust and take money, and I've seen that over and over again, but especially prevalent in the black community because we are strong in our churches, and we've got to change that. That's going to be part of the process. As we come in, blacks have been used as victims for too long. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want my daughter to be a victim, and we've got to get people out of the victim mentality, and we've got to get people to stop trusting folks that don't have their best interest at heart. If you're always voting for someone, think about it like this: Detroit, Washington, D.C., South Central LA, all of the places that are controlled by Democrats and run by so-called folks that are trying to help blacks, those areas look like fallout zones. I call them liberal fallout zones. It looks like someone just dropped a bomb and left. If you compare that to, Alexandria, Virginia, and Oregon, and Utah, and these places that are controlled by Republicans, they may just be just as corrupt, but they know how to take care of home. These people won't even take care of home. They don't think it matters. So that's what we've got to change. And I want to talk to the guy that does the films, because we're actually working on something to document how this has happened across America. We are disintegrating and dying from within, and most people don't even realize it. These communities are rotting, and the ones that are being fixed, the gentrified. Have you seen Washington, D.C. lately, guys? There used to be parts of D.C. you couldn't walk around in at night. Now you've got 20-year-olds jogging in short shorts, and D.C. talking about how the crime rate has dropped for the first time in 20 years. Go 3 blocks east into PG County, Maryland, and what you will see were 11 murders in the first week of the year. What you will see is crime off the chain, because what they did was they didn't solve the problem, they pushed it into another community. DC is giving right now housing vouchers to have people move into PG County. So those liberals, yes, you can get a house, a townhouse, anything, if you will go and get it in Maryland. So these liberal whites that say they love us so much don't want to live near us. They just want that prime space right there near the metro, and they're willing to push us out, but no one's talking about it. Those are the type of things that you guys need to work on. Those are the type of scandals that need to be exposed, because it traces right back to these pay-for-play politics and these liberal cronyism. So, thank you.